All right, ZestFesters, thank you for joining us at the Celebrity Chef Stage. The man you see before you is Chef Mark Hitri of Paris 7th here in Fort Worth. From personal experience, go. It's wonderful. If you love French cooking, if you just love food, this man knows what he's doing, and Paris 7th's a fantastic place. Chef, I'll let you tell the story, but the rumor is you started at Dairy Queen here in Fort Worth.
Yes, I did start at a Dairy Queen. The original reason was to buy a bass guitar, and I needed a job to get some money. And then I just kind of stayed in kitchens, played bass for a little bit, but working in the kitchen paid the bills more.
This is going to be some really good stuff. The man knows how to cook, and he knows how to play bass, and he knows how to make a blizzard. So we'll hear all about that. Would you please welcome from Paris 7th, Chef Mark Hitri.
Well, again, welcome. Delighted to have you here. But French cuisine is not known to be the zestiest of there. And, you know, when they were reaching out me to be a part of this, I was like, well, you know, French has the Espelette pepper, which is the only indigenous pepper to that area, and it's not that spicy. But I thought, you know, where are we going to get the heat? And it's the steak au poivre, the peppercorn, is where the French have their zestiness, I would say. And so we're going to do a classic steak au poivre. We'll be using beef tenderloin here. And there's different approaches to the au poivre. Some want the sauce to be more focused on the beefy aspect or the creamy aspect, and I lean more towards the cream aspect of the sauce. I like the fat in the cream, helps carry the heat and diffuse it so it's not as intense, and it will help blend it out. I like to use green peppercorn mainly, and I prefer a dried as opposed to the brine. Now the brine does have it's a nice bite to it, but I prefer more of the subtle aspects, what you get from just a dried green peppercorn. Also, I will use a blend as well sometimes, adding the black and the pink and the white all together. It gives a nice visual on that. One of the things you have to be concerned about when doing your peppercorn is, I mean, if you're familiar with pepper spray, you can pepper spray yourself. The pan is hot, you put the peppercorn on there, and don't get too close because it is releasing those volatile chemicals there. Let's see, I'm gonna turn this on, gotta get the heat. And the key is to get a good sear with the peppercorn to crust them. Again, that heat will bring out the natural, the flavor and the aroma of the peppercorn. Then we have here, it's gonna be like some TV magic going on. A lot of this is already put together for me here. The peppercorns have been marinating with a little beef stock and cognac or brandy. And then we will sear off the beef, add the peppercorn reduction, and then the cream, let that reduce in there. We're doing a beef tenderloin, but you can use other cuts of meat as well. Currently at the restaurant, we're using a bavette cut, and it's the classic cut that they use in France for the steak au poivre. We had been doing a ribeye as well. You know, whatever cut you like, it works on that. But the key is the peppercorn, really to focus on the peppercorn. Start with, you want to get it plenty hot, so that's going to work there. We'll start with a little oil in there, the heat, the pan with the oil, and then the peppercorn. Then I like to add a little bit of butter after the fact. If you start with the butter, it'll brown too much and burn. So you want to start with just a regular oil before you go in with the butter to get the searing in on that. One of the things that you'll want to do is crush the peppercorns before you roll the filet in it. You can do that with a mallet or the bottom of a pan. Works real good. No mortar and pestle, but this is Works nice. Just using the bottom of the pan.
Chef, I think all of us can speak from experience. This technique works wonderfully until you forget to wipe off the bottom of the pan.
Yes. True story, true story.
And then you've got cracked peppercorns on the bottom of the
especially if you have like this, a glass top thing, and you've got, cracked peppercorn on your glass, will definitely mess that up. All right, that's nice and cracked. And then we will salt the beef, roll it in the pepper. Whee.
And chef, as they say, you only season the side of the meat that you're going to eat.
That's correct. Season the whole thing, actually. All right, so we're gonna let that get good and hot. If it's not hot enough, it's just gonna stew and not sear. You gotta have high heat sears, but high heat doesn't cook, right? When I was at the culinary school, I would say high heat sears and burns, right? But you have to get that good sear, that Maillard reaction where it's getting that caramelizing, that crust on there. And some people say that seals in the juices. More so, it just really gives flavors because the juices are they'll escape. They're not going to stay in there. But it's to get the flavor that you get from the caramelization. And that will only happen at higher than the point of boiling water, which is 212 degrees. There's some tongs. All right. So if your pan's not hot enough and it's just steaming, you're not getting that sear. So high heat sears and burns. We've got nice crust of peppercorn there. There we go, we're smoking now. And if you can't hear it, it won't sear it. I hear it. So as he mentioned, Paris 7th Restaurant, we're on 7th Street, not too far from here. Currently, we're running a special with our summer bistro menus. Wednesdays and Thursdays, 3 set courses, $48.50 inclusive. We have some nice wine options specifically for that as well. And but we have a mailing list that has lots of information around us. We are one of the French restaurants that's been here in Fort Worth. The restaurant's been open a little over 8 years, and my partner Chris and I, we've been running it for the past 2.5 years. But we've been involved in it. The legacy of Paris 7th was opened by Bernard, who had the other French restaurant, Saint-Emilion, and I worked for him in the past, as did Chris there. Now, what we need, not just is something to project my voice, but something to project the aroma in there. If you can smell it, I don't know, but I'll do my best to get that out to you. But you can smell it. Again, you don't want to get too close. You'll pepper spray yourself there. And we got nice color there on that, and so now's when you'll want to add the butter after the you got that first sear. Adding the butter. Again, the butter will help brown. The butter also gives a nice flavor aspect to it as well. And again, he mentioned I'd played the bass. I did that for a couple years until I realized cooking, you don't have to drive around in a crappy van with 3 other stinky guys. So it's this is a much better life. But we just recently put out a double album of all our greatest hits. You can check it out, Pop Poppins through Carpe Diem Records there. I think there's like still 200 left. Yeah, now I'm smelling it. It smells great. You're good to see her. All right, so in here we have the reduction with some peppercorn and the beef stock and a little bit of the brandy. The brandy's already been flamed off. Sorry, no fire for you. And that's, you know, we'll get in trouble if I do fire in here. Ooh, steamy. And so you'll want the stock to reduce, right? Again, reducing will intensify the flavor. So we're using a broth here. There's not a lot of natural gelatin in it, so it won't get too thick from that. The thickness for the sauce, with the help of the coating, will come from the reduction of the cream in there. But reducing will just intensify the flavor of the beef, as well as the brandy, and then the peppercorns in there. So again, when you're doing this in the kitchen, you add the brandy, it will ignite and flare off. A lot of people say that burns off the alcohol, and that's only partially true, that you really can't completely burn out the alcohol in your cooking. So it's important to know that if you're cooking for certain people with religious restrictions as to having alcohol in there. People think, oh, I've burned the alcohol out. It still remains whenever you cook with alcohol, so important to know that distinction. All right, other than the wraps, anybody else been to Paris 7th? Or, oh, okay, yay, welcome, great. Front row seating there. Oh, yeah? Yeah. We barely knew we were coming. Oh, it's exciting. So now at this point, we'll reduce the cream down and let it tighten up on there. Again, maybe you've had my food in other places. Like I said, I've been at Paris 7th last 2.5 years, but I started cooking at the Worthington Hotel in the late 1900s. And you can laugh more at that joke, right? It's okay. That's why I'm not in comedy. They won't get any better, and they'll keep coming. So, started there, Worthington Hotel, but then I also worked at Texas Motor Speedway, BK's Catering, Paris 7th, Glen Garden Country Club, and Billy Bob's, the world's largest honky tonk. And probably a couple other places, all over the place. So. Now what we're looking for here is called nappe, the sauce to thicken to nappe to where it will coat the back of the spoon. Not quite there, but you can, like meet the streep, and you can see we want to just tighten that up on there. And handy utensils for tasting spoons. There we go. Where are my tasting spoons? See a tasting spoon? Other than my finger, but you know, I'm on TV, can't do that. Gotta look professional. No, thanks. No, I'll use this. This was good. Boy, that smells good. Whee! Almost there. A little more salt. If we say sin sal, sin sabor, sounds better in Spanish than it does in English, but no salt, no flavor. Salt doesn't have a flavor of its own, it just carries flavor, right? It allows the water and the other flavors to come through. So again, if you're not having salt, it's not adding a flavor, it's intensifying the flavors that are already there. You can look at the sauce there, nice, beautiful. Again, you want the sauce to adhere to whatever it is you're cooking. And you know, we say we want nappe or a certain consistency of sauce, but that will vary based on the type of sauce. You know, if I'm doing a nage, it's a lighter sauce, or a jus, again, the consistency will change on the type of sauces. But cream sauces, you want them, again, to adhere. And, you know, another thing about the salt things that need salt are fat and starch. So this is a cream sauce, hence a lot of fat. It will need the salt to carry through the other flavors there, or something like potatoes. I'm going to use my finger. That's all right. There we go. That's how you really do it. We'll wash our hands afterwards, right? Beautiful steak there. And we're going to have some samples for you to try as well. Now, one of the things to work on is timing to cook your steak with the sauce, but I will cut this up and then get a nice clean visual there, all the stuff out of the way. Nice. Touch on the rare side, but then we can just put it back into the sauce to finish that up there. We serve ours with our frites, duck fat fried potatoes. This is how we serve our steak au poivre right now. But I like also, and what I like about this is because I'll dip the French fries in the sauce. It's so good in there. But it's also great like with pasta or mashed potatoes. The sauce itself lends to more than just beef. Again, that's the traditional steak au poivre. Just means with pepper. That's a French. And I cook it better than I speak it. So if my pronunciation is off, that's, you know. Oh well, c'est la vie. Boy, this looks good. All right. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Chef, I think honestly they just want to eat.
I think so too.
That looks amazing.